The next day, the sun shone but there were very few passengers coming to the branch line. The financial problems were getting worse and if nothing was done within the next few weeks, the line would close. Thomas, Percy, Toby and Daisy were very upset and couldn't stand of the thought of losing the line they had worked so hard on and loved so much. Thomas was taking on water at the water tower when Percy shunted some empty trucks. He could see his best friend was sad, thinking that this could be the final days of working on his branch line.
If the outcome does happen,
we'll have to move on. But the main thing is that we'll still have each other. Our friendship will forever last.
Thomas could only look at the small green engine and sighed. A few more days went by and by sheer luck, the Fat Controller was able to sort out the fanatical troubles and help raise enough money to get the branch line back in full swing. However, the number of passengers was still lacking but had slowly increased. Freight work was slowly rising in success and Percy and Toby were pleased to see that the line was still in operation. Thomas, meanwhile, was too busy thinking about the plan he had set for his next encounter with Timothy's evil spirit. One afternoon, the engine's crew were eating their meals on a small table near the sheds.
Hey, what day is it?
The fireman handed his calendar over to him and the driver's eyes widened.
My God!
What's wrong?
The fireman handed his calendar over to him and the driver's eyes widened.
My God! It's day of the anniversary of Timothy's accident. That means tonight he's gonna come.
Thomas, Percy and Toby overheard this and gasped.
oh my goodness, he'll come running again, plunging into the gap, shrieking like a lost soul.
Percy, you just said the same words that you told me when you first mentioned that story a long time ago, and yet years later you still remember them.
Yes, but Timothy won't come to warn us. He's gonna come and take you and send you to hell. That's what he said.
No, he won't. We will defeat him and end this madness. Right, we put our plan into action and stop him.
As the sun faded and darkness closed in, the three engines could sense that this would be a horrifying night. Nighttime finally came, the moon was full and the stars twinkled in the sky. Thomas, Percy and Toby soon split up and waited for the ghost of Timothy to come. The fog soon came down and fast. Percy headed off on the shortcut route to get to the docks. When he got there, his driver and fireman heard a whistle, followed by a sadistic laughter.
It's Timothy.
There was Timothy, looking so evil, twisted, demented and very psychotic. His eyes beaming with red and his zombie-like teeth grinning from both sides of his mouth. Behind him were coaches, the very same ones he pulled with him on the day of his suicidal crash. Inside them were the shadowy shapes of passengers that died with him. In the cab was Timothy's driver, all dressed in black and had similar red eyes with an overall appearance of a zombie.
Full steam ahead, Timothy.
Sure thing.
Then the ghost of Timothy shot forward on the same track as Percy. Percy puffed forward and soon picked up speed, running out of the docks. He soon came back onto the route, heading to Crow's Farm Crossing. Timothy was right behind him, puffing fast and cursing out loudly. He was full of rage and anger as he started to catch up on Percy.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Back up, back up.
The mist grew heavier and heavier and the loud of Timothy's pistons got louder and louder. He was just nearly inches of consuming Percy when the little green engine whistled loudly as a wave of mist blew around him. He continued on puffing quickly until he reached Crow's Farm Crossing. The driver looked back and saw nothing.
I think we've lost him.
But then Timothy's whistle echoed in the dark, causing Percy to shiver in fright.
We haven't lost him. He's still on to us.
Then Timothy's laughter came and it sounded like he was coming in closer. Percy wasted no time and was on the move again. He crossed Crow's Farm Crossing, passed Hackenbeck and arrived at Big Station where Toby was waiting. Before he could say a word, Timothy's pistons were head again, followed by his whistle.
He's coming.
So I can hear.
The time is nearing. I will finish what I started years ago.
Toby and Percy made a run for it as the evil ghost train followed, stalking them like prey. They raced along the branch line and then got turned off, going onto the main line. Timothy laughed psychotically as he gained up on the two engines, his pistons increasing in speed.
We are going to end this madness and we'll be going straight to hell.
As the engines continued to fly along the line, they were nearing the viaduct, where Timothy met his end years ago. After they crossed it, they got turned off onto a different line, but the ghost train was nowhere to be seen. Toby and Percy thought they had lost him when suddenly they heard him whistling loudly behind him in the distance. But then another whistle was heard. It was Thomas the Tank Engine himself. He was puffing down the same track, racing at full speed.
Leave this to me. Timothy's so messed up in the smoke box that he'll have no idea what's about to happen.
As Thomas made to viaduct, he saw Timothy racing towards him. He looked more demented and sicker than ever.
Prepare to be sent to the graveyard, Thomas, for your death has come at the hands of Timothy, the ghost train of Sauber.
But as he was about to make contact, Thomas' driver threw something out from the cab. As it hit the rails, the fireman pressed a button from his pocket and as a massive explosion erupted, blowing the viaduct in half. Timothy got caught in the blast and seconds later he, along with his coaches, fell, screaming as he plunged into the thick blanket of mist and into the ravine below. Thomas heard his whistle screaming and the shrieking of the people inside the coaches, shortly followed by a thunderous explosion. The little blue engine slowly made his way forward to the edge of the broken rails, looking down at where Timothy had fallen.
And your death came at the hands of Thomas the Tank Engine.